Hey, today I want to talk about the Buck Rogers because I want to. So I couldn't find any Buck Rogers trivia cards. So I found this set of like 1979 Tops cards, and that's what we're going to do. I'm going to use these to bounce and springboard off my love of the 1980s, which is really 1970s Buck Rogers. So here's this random card I picked about the world of tomorrow in Buck Rogers land. Now, let's take a look at this. Because it's what's on the left side that I want to get to. I'm going to put a link to this building down there because that's a real building that's still out there, but at the time it looked very futuristic. Now, I live around the Detroit area in Michigan, and there's a similar building like that here that's called the Renaissance Center in downtown Detroit. And every time I go in it, I can't help but think this is where Buck Rogers hung out during the Buck Rogers pilot. And that is the world of tomorrow. Now, I have to look and to see, and of course I left, where'd my pointer go? There you go. I'll have to look and see exactly what this building is. I feel, that, I don't know if that's real or not. Because there's some overlap between some of the art in Buck Rogers and some early Next Gen episodes. And I'll have to do some more research because I think the same person did that. I'm thinking the episode was Home Soil, where that's a little research, and this is in TNG, and it was the same kind of scenic matte painting as a Buck Rogers episode. But from what I know, this is real on the left side, and the rest is obviously because I don't think this building exists. This feels like, I want to say that reminds me of Sandman headquarters from. Now I'm blanking on the name of the movie. Sandman headquarters from. Now Tapestry in the background of Starfleet Academy when Picard goes back into itself. I think this building might be there. I don't think it's the same building, and I'm talking too long about it. What's the Logan's Run? Logan's Run. I don't know if that's the Sandman building or not. I don't think it is, but I'll have to do some looking in the special effects. Now I'm going to talk about this sooner or later, but a lot of the effects, the scenery, a lot of what you see in Buck Rogers was also from the classic Battlestar Galactica. They went to the same places. Sometimes they have the same cut scenes and whatnot. And not only this building, which looks a lot like the Renaissance Center in Detroit, but is actually one in Los Angeles, but also scenes from the 1967 World's Fair in Montreal. You'll see that a lot in Buck Rogers. So it's the whole look and feel of Buck Rogers that I like, because although it falls in the 80s, it's truly a child of the late 70s. What you see with Buck Rogers is totally late 70s stuff in all of its glory, right down to the outfits everybody has. And there'll be time enough for that as well. And I also want a big plug. There's not a lot of written scholarship. I wouldn't call it scholarship, but a lot of geek out books about Buck Rogers. The show, there are like 2 or 3 novels written in the time that are contemporary. There was one novel that came out that's supposed to be in a series that I've never seen or heard of since, that kind of fell off the radar. I go find that, I'll put it in a different show. But overall, I would recommend, and if you get the Blu-ray Buck Rogers, and then Kino Lorber comes out with that, it'll have commentary by Patrick Jawinski. Hopefully I'm saying that right. But here's his book, The Buck Rogers TV Companion. It's a fun read. It's a very selective read. You got to really be a Buck Rogers geek to love this. Overall, I'm glad this exists. I appreciate the work Patrick here put into it. I get that there's a passion. He's a geek, just like me. I love this stuff. So go and get the TV Companion to Buck Rogers. It's all there. It's all here for you. Love it. Okay, that's my initial geek out on Buck Rogers. I try to watch it every couple of years, and it's not just going back in time to my 6-year-old self, although I caught most of it in syndication reruns around maybe 80, 80. I don't know. Yeah, before 1985. I remember Hawk. Hawk's the second season. That's a whole other issue. Plenty of time to geek out about Buck Rogers later. Let's see the back of this classic 1979 card, World of Tomorrow. At first glance, the 25th century looks glorious, but William Deering assures Buck that this is not the case. Just outside the city are the remains of old Earth, the world of Buck's generation destroyed by years of atomic warfare. All right, this is what sets the pilot of Buck Rogers. Find the name of what they called the pilot, and I can't find it right away. As soon as I find it, I'll know it. But you know, the fun thing about Buck Rogers is it is working from not a very serious aesthetic. It can be a fun show, especially the first season, and that is where its charm was. You don't quite see it with the second when it tries to be serious and it kind of fails. That's the whole. We learn about the importance of a showrunner when it comes to that. All this can be found in the book here, but we're dealing with episodes later on, like Planet of the Slave Girls. I mean, that's your second episode where Jack Palance just like chews up the scenery for a while. We have Vegas in space. That's known for just an outfit someone wears. As I'm looking at it here, so it's all a lot of fun. Of course, soon we'll get to Space Vampire, which at the end of the day will be the lasting memory of Buck Rogers. A lot of fun. So this beat here was never really explored at all in the remainder of the series, because they got away. Well, they were still based in New Chicago, but they never came back to what old Earth was. And so, by happenstance, I suppose, Buck can find the graves of his parents in like Chicago nuclear wasteland just outside of a city. So I mean, there's a bit of suspension of disbelief throughout the show. In the old, not quite great to read stories from the 1920s, which is where this comes from, it wasn't New Chicago, it was Niagara, where you see Anthony Buck Rogers, not William Buck Rogers, live. Anyway, long story short, plenty more to talk about. Obviously, when Galactica crashed and burned, and ABC didn't want to pick it up again, Larson had all these. He paid all this money for all these sets, the special effects stuff. So NBC said, let's put Buck Rogers in the kiddie hour. Roundabout, and we did, and it was a lot of fun. It's imperfect, but in hindsight, that's where the joy is. So I would recommend watching it. More to come. I got plenty to say about Buck Rogers. So this will be my first of many episodes because I love this show, and there's a lot here. There's a lot here to relate to the series in the 70s versus where the source material came from in the 1920s, and also we're dealing with the 1939 serial starring Buster Crabbe, mainly known for his portrayal as Flash Gordon and Tarzan, right? Buck Rogers is still owned by like the family trust, so it is not owned by like a studio. Warner Brothers doesn't own it. NBC Universal obviously owns the series, but not the character. And we see that with a few characters. The Phantom comes to mind. Flash Gordon is another, where they have survived a bit, but they could have been a lot more than they are, because no one's willing just to buy them and absorb them into something larger. That's the problem we see with Buck Rogers, and I think that's what keeps something like Buck Rogers out of the public consciousness for so long. And you can be down on corporate ownership, but because no corporate entity owns this, that's almost a disadvantage because we don't see it often. Okay, that's enough Buck Rogers geek out today. I got stuff to do. You got stuff to do. I feel like I did it a disservice, but this is a lot of fun, and this is first of many Buck Rogers Experience episodes. So I hope you like Buck Rogers, because I'm gonna start talking about it in all its 70s glory. If you look this is kind of what I mean by 70s glory. And hey, I didn't even talk about Twiggy and the yeah, that. We have time. Obviously, I have time. All right, Buck Rogers, episode 10. Love it. That's it.